नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयाम् उदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना। हृदयन्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 25, verse 19 and 20. So Canto 4, titled The Creation of Fourth Order, and Chapter 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Puranjana. So verse 19. नानारण्यमृगव्रातेर् अनाबाधे मुनिव्रते आहुतं मन्यते पान्थो यत्र कोकिलकूजितैः. Synonyms: Nana, various; Aranya, forest; Mriga, animals; Vrati, with groups; Anabadhe, in the matter of non-violence; Muni Pratai, like the great sages; Ahutam, as if invited; Manyate, thinks; Pantaha, passenger; Yatra, where; Kokila, of cuckoos; Kujitai, by the cooing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. In such an atmosphere, even the animals of the forest became non-violent and non-envious like great sages. Consequently, the animals did not attack anyone. Over and above, everything was the cooing of the cuckoos. Any passenger passing along the path was invited by that atmosphere to take rest in that nice garden. But a peaceful family with wife and children is compared to the peaceful atmosphere of the forest. Children are compared to non-violent animals. Sometimes, however, wives and children are called Swajana, Swajanakhya Dasyu, burglars in the name of the kinsman. A man earns his livelihood with hard labor, but the result is that he is plundered by his wife and children exactly as a person in a forest is attacked by some thieves and burglars who take his money. Nonetheless, in family life, the turmoil of wife and children appears to be like the cooing of the cuckoos in the garden of the family life. Being invited by such an atmosphere, the person who is passing through such a blissful family life desires to have his family with him at all costs. Verse 20. Yadruchaya gatam tatra dadarshya pramadottamam भ्रातृर् दासाभिरायन्तीम् एकैकशतनायकैः. Translation. While wandering here and there in that wonderful garden, King Purajana suddenly came in contact with a very beautiful woman who was walking there without any engagement. She had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying him. Purport. The body has already been compared to a beautiful garden. During youth, the sex impulse is awakened, and the intelligence, according to one's imagination, is prone to contact the opposite sex. In youth, a man or woman is in search of the opposite sex by intelligence or imagination, if not directly. The intelligence influences the mind, and the mind controls the 10 senses. Five of the senses gather knowledge, and five work directly. Each sense has many desires to be fulfilled. This is the position of the body and the owner of the body, Puranjana, who is within the body. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम् नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो I would like to seek blessings from all the Vaishnavas who are present here. Please empower me so that I can correctly present the topic in accordance to the scriptural injunctions. And this attempt can purify my mind, my heart, as well as listeners. I collected few points from senior Vaishnavas. So, in this two texts, as we all know, Maitreya Rishi actually continues telling the story to Vidura. In previous chapter, or in this chapter also, early of this chapter, we come to understanding that Prachitas, who on the order of Lord Shiva, on the advice of Lord Shiva, they start doing severe austerities to please Lord Vishnu. On the other hand, father of Prachetas, Prachanubharhi, he was doing all the fruitive activities in his kingdom. Looking at that, Narad Muni, who is full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul, he always appeared to actually uplift our spiritual consciousness. He appeared before Prachan Barhi. He felt compassionate and and came to instruct some spiritual wisdom. In that course of time, the conversation begins, and Prachin Barhi also submits himself to Narad Muni to opens up his mind and ears actually to listen to Narad Muni, which we know is the first qualification to understand, to to respect the spiritual wisdom, right? If we don't open our mind uh, and our ears, then we are actually not open to listen or accept the wisdom. So, and he accepted Narad Muni as his spiritual master. So Narad Muni started narrating an allegorical story about King Puranjana. So the King Puranjana doesn't exist. It's an allegorical story to come to some conclusion or give some moral lesson at the end of the story. So King Puranjana, it is described that he had unlimited desires for sense enjoyment, and he was actually looking for um, traveling all over the world to find a suitable place so that he can um, basically he can satisfy his unlimited desires. And finally comes to Himalayas, the southern side of Himalayas. And obviously the southern side of Himalayas is nothing but Bharatvarsha or India. And it is described that the city has a beautiful 9 gates and has all auspicious and beautiful facilities. And in the previous verses, it is also described that he was always in companion with a good friend named Avigyat. Interestingly, Avigya means unknown, unknown to Puranjana. So how do we understand with that? Avigya, as we all know, we are all spiritual souls and we are always accompanied by Paramatma, Mahavishnu. But before coming to spiritual path, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we were ignorant of this Paramatma who has always been with us. Similarly, this is exactly what the Narad Muni was hinting, that we are always accompanied, and he was always accompanied with Krishna consciousness. So one other thing, it is mentioned that whenever we actually search for something for our material hankering, we never get satisfied. That is what the King Puranjana depicts. So one of the things that is Prabhupada talked about previously was Prabhupada said, whoever takes in birth in India is the most fortunate and the glorious position. Um, Primarily because, as we know, India is known for the spiritual knowledge. A lot of many religions actually originated from India. So that is why it's kind of a big opportunity for, especially for Indians, to take up the spiritual path. In addition to that, in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, it is described that the very celebrated words, Bharat Bhumi Haile Janma Paropkar. So when you have Janma in Bharat, you have to fulfill your duty. What is the duty? The duty of para upakar, to spread the conscious, spread the spiritual knowledge, which is actually what is done by Srila Prabhupada, right? So going back to the topic, in this verse, Prabhupada described about how the garden was. The garden was beautiful, and the animals were non-violent. Here, the senses are compared to the non-violent. So there was no disturbance. So technically, the senses were all cooperating because the mind, or Puranjana, who is actually the soul, representative of the soul, had this desire for sense enjoyment. And because sense enjoyment is in line with the material senses, they were not, they were very cooperative. They were looking for an opportunity to have that, to get for the opportunities to enjoy, right? And Prabhupada also explained that this peaceful forest, he compared that to as a family life with wife and children who are cooperating with Krishna consciousness. So that's what we have to understand. So whenever the Puranjana, or the soul, is cooperated to actually go through or follow his, uh, listen to the actual desire of the soul, which is nothing but to elevate oneself into Krishna consciousness, he is peaceful. So in that connection, I kind of researched something on the letter from Prabhupada. Prabhupada talks about something, what should a family do in Krishna consciousness. So this is a letter. So I'm just reading. You're such a nice soul that you are always thinking of Krishna and becoming more and more purified in Krishna consciousness. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, and 27th verse, Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart and he's purifying one who is in Krishna consciousness, one who is Krishna conscious. The symptoms of advancement in Krishna consciousness is gradually feeling detached the materialistic way of life. Although you are young man, you have got your nice young wife and child, and by Krishna's grace, everything is all right so far as your family is concerned. Still, you are feeling detached. That is very nice. But when your wife and child are all cooperating in your Krishna consciousness, there is no hampering in your progress. So keep yourself always in Krishna consciousness with your family members, raise your children to that standard, and employ your energy for serving Krishna. Then, even though you are in a family life, you are as good as sannyasi. So, as we can see, Prabhupada clearly emphasizes the role of the family here. Obviously, in the purport, Prabhupada also kind of discriminates with the good family versus the bad family, where the other family, the members are considered to be the burglars of the property of the sole earner. So that's why when all the family come in line with their own duties, what they're supposed to, then the life becomes very peaceful. That's what Prabhupada is emphasizing, that our purpose should actually uh, to elevate ourselves in Krishna consciousness. And when we do that, eventually we get detached from everything. And that is the sign of progress in Krishna consciousness. If we are getting attached too much in our daily life, then that is actually not the sign of growth in Krishna consciousness. Other than that, in the next sloka, um, it's even more described about, like it said, while wandering in the forest, King Puranjana came across a beautiful woman. Interestingly, Pramada, Pramada is translated as one woman, or Mada. The other way is actually we can understand the meaning of Mada, right? So, so when come across Puranjana came across this beautiful woman, and it's described that this woman had 10 servants with her, and each of the servant had hundreds of wives accompanying. So these 10 servants are compared to actually to the census. So we have like five working senses and five um, knowledge acquiring senses. So these 10 senses had hundreds of desires carrying about them. So that's what the wife says. I came across a beautiful verse in Canto 7, chapter 940, where it says, Jihvai kato achyuta vikarshati mavritupta shishno anyasta tava gudaram shravanam kuta shrita ध्रोणो अन्यतश्च फलदृक् च कर्मशक्ति बर्हव्य सपन्त्य सपन सप्तन्य इव गेहपतिम lunanti. So it's actually a prayer from Prahlad Maharaj to Lord Nrsingadev. My dear Lord, O infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives, all trying to attract him in their own way. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genital to sex with an attractive woman, and the sense of touch to contact with soft things. The belly, although filled, still wants to eat more, and the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side. The restless eyes are attracted to scenes of sense gratification, and the activity senses are attracted elsewhere. In this way, I'm certainly embarrassed. So you can think out this is what we all go through. Our senses are pulling in every direction, and these senses are overtaking our mind, and our mind is overtaking our intelligence, and our intelligence is overtaking our soul, and we are not listening to the soul, which is has a pure desire of Krishna consciousness. That's the reason why, even if you look at the Ashtanga yoga, the first thing it is said is that we want to start controlling our senses first. So, yama niyama is something very prominent. We have to start with that so that we are able to control our senses. And without controlling our senses, we cannot have our mind peaceful. This is exactly what Arjuna is also saying to Krishna. I can control the wind, but I cannot control my mind. And without having controlled our mind, how can I even invest my mind in the worship of Vishnu, right? Or Krishna. So that is why even Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion, or Nectar of Instruction, he says that we have to start controlling our genitals, our tongue, so that we can progress in Krishna consciousness. So this is the theory, but if we look at what Prabhupada did, Prabhupada is such an amazing compassion. Out of compassion, he laid such an amazing created such a temple for all of us, where all of us can stay. And just following Prabhupada's instructions, attending morning programs, doing japa, we can naturally, being in the association of devotees, we naturally can actually uh, work on our senses, on all this, and naturally we can develop the bhakti process. So we are very much indebted to Srila Prabhupada, and um, just have to follow the instructions of our guru, and that will take us to the ultimate destination of everyone, which is the Krishna consciousness. So those are some of the points that I could gather. Thank you so much for the opportunity.